What's up, YouTube Gen X? So I've heard a couple of people highlight the, what's the word I'm looking for? The misunderstanding, okay, of black women who may have that sort of eclectic, bohemian, free-spirited sort of personality versus that of a black woman who is pro-black. Okay, there's a significant difference, but there are some similarities where people may be confused, and even that black woman may not even understand. She may be free-spirited, bohemian, and she's identifying as pro-black, and it's like, honey, you're not. Or she may be on some like, uh, I identify as free-spirited, eclectic, but her viewpoints would imply that she is more pro-black, right, and not even know it. I know Avenue Rants touched on it, Willie P touched on it. Um, I've heard that Tariq has touched on it. I don't really listen to Tariq like that, but he's touched on it. And I've slightly touched on it in one of my many videos on YouTube. I can't uh, remember which one in particular, but it's something that I've slightly touched at. Um, but I thought it would be important to put it out there, right? Your free-spirited, eclectic versus your pro-black. Now, is there overlap? Of course. When you look at style of dress, you're going to have that sort of bohemian, counter MTV sort of style in terms of fashion, right? They're going to look similar in terms of how they dress. When you look at hair, chances are they may both have some sort of natural type of hair, maybe dreadlocks or whatnot, so that's going to be similar, right? Maybe even down to what they eat in terms of diet. Oh, we don't eat meat, we only eat berries and drink water, yada, yada, yada. So you're going to have that sort of overlap, right? Even when it comes down to maybe even music. Oh, I love Bob Marley, right? Or I love a certain type of music. So they may even have that in common. You never know, right? But for me, that's about it. And once again, like I said before, it's more so where you are mentally. Being pro-black or having this sort of, that sort of disposition has little to do with how you look, even though it is an extension of your mentality for the most part, but it's your mentality, right? So you can have a pro-black mentality, and in my opinion, that kind of defines what it means to be pro-black. Your thought process is there, right? And through that, that typically turns into how you dress and, some of your other viewpoints and your likes and your dislikes, right? It's kind of like when Moses went up and got the Ten Commandments, right? And he came back down and his hair was white, right? His mentality changed, so therefore his physical appearance changed. But it was his mentality that was important. And that's what I'm trying to get at, right? You have a lot of black women that run around on some like, I'm pro-black, I'm pro-black. Why? Just because you dress a certain way? Just because you have a certain hairstyle? Well, let's talk about black politics. Let's talk about economics. Let's have some sort of historical conversation about blackness and things relevant in the black diaspora, and they're not there, right? So you're not under that category, right? If anything, you may be that sort of free-spirited, eclectic person, or you may be somebody who's posing. You're an imposter, right? But anyways, your eclectic, free-spirited sort of person is counter mainstream culture, right? All the rules and regulations they don't want to abide by. Almost like when you have those white guys on some fuck the establishment sort of, tip. They're kind of like that. What society says is normal, they're going to go against, right? So it's not so much about, you know, doing right, doing wrong. It's just more so, hey, I'm doing what they're saying that we're not supposed to do. So if that means, maybe doing drugs or getting into this, getting into that, it's not a big deal because society doesn't tell me what I need to be doing. Oftentimes your free-spirited, eclectic sort of women often get themselves into trouble because they start dibble and dabbling and they forget that oftentimes with mainstream culture, they have those sort of boundaries so that you can be protected. But because they don't believe in mainstream, they often dibble and dabble and they end up in areas that they're not supposed to be in, right? Whether it's drug abuse or, messing around with the wrong people, getting involved in criminal activity, but they're just going against anything that's mainstream. That's what they want to do, right? If it's the mainstream culture, they're going to go the exact opposite. Oh, a young lady's supposed to dress and act in a certain way. Why? I'm not going to do it. So that's what they do, right? So it's not even so much good or bad. It's kind of like however I feel at the moment because I don't have to play by those rules, right? That mainstream culture or even for their own cultural group, whatever their cultural group says I'm supposed to do, I'm not going to do, right? Because you see it. It's not just with black women. We've all dealt with the Asian girl or the Indian girl or the white girl who have that same sort of free-spirited, eclectic sort of mentality, right? I've seen it. I still see it all the time, right? So it's really nothing for me to see a white girl walking around with dreadlocks, right? Or on some Rastafari sort of tip, right? Because I definitely see it with non-black men as well. Shit, I remember my high school year, there was like a movement to go bohemian with the white guys, and all they did was smoke weed and listen to Bob Marley. So were they pro-black, even though they dressed a certain way? No, or even counter white culture. No, they were just trying to have fun, right? Their culture said that you have to be clean cut, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So they're like, fuck all that, right? We're gonna go against all that, right? So that's what that is. Now, once again, dealing with somebody pro-black, they're more so in tune with blackness overall, in terms of the what it means to be black across the board. So they're into everything from the black perspective: education, politics, health, family, love, right? Self-image. That's where they're at. That's their mentality, right? So you can tell the difference once you have a conversation. Now, this is not to say that you can't be fooled. Don't get me wrong, right? She may be smart enough to know some stuff about black culture and whatnot. I know some chicks like that, right, where they can fool you, but at the end of the day, they're kind of free-spirited. But there's typically going to be a moral component with your pro-black woman. There's going to be that sort of, I don't do that. There's going to be that sort of viewpoint when it comes to sexuality and when it needs to happen and who it needs to be with, right? You're going to have that component, and that's what you have to check for. So anyways, I think I've put it out there in terms of, or at least how I view it from what I've seen in my own neck of the woods. So it's important to know the difference so that you don't be fooled. So you're not fooled, okay? And therefore, you won't be let down, right? So that's my vid. Y'all take it easy. God bless.